This program brought to you by Brewski's Bar and Grill, located in Utica, Minnesota. Your one-stop shop for delicious burgers, fries, pizzas, and more.
Welcome to Sports Backtalk with Boley and Ringer, and you probably know the guy in the middle, George Frate. Thanks for being here, George.
Hey, my pleasure.
This is our Super Bowl edition. It's 2 o'clock or a smidge after on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, and we're going to work our way through a few places. We're at Louis Bar right now out in downtown Rainier, and then we're heading for the
Viking Bar.
We're going to
Hanson's Outpost.
It's an outpost, and then we're ending up at Border Bar. Where we always end up our traditional spots as we roll. So as the show progresses, we'll make more and more apparent, more and more obvious. But we're going to start with Mike because we want to get him going.
I'm already wound up.
I know. Tell us about the Gopher basketball game quickly.
You know, it's just typical. You know, I mentioned this earlier. The definition of a defeated loser should be just the state of Minnesota. You know, because we lose at everything. We don't win at anything, do we? I mean, seriously. We have all these pro teams, college teams. We don't win at anything except the Lynx. I was going there. But then, of course, they lost last year. So who do we have to hang our hat on? Speaking of hats, George, thoughts on my comments? I get a little flustered and a little frustrated.
No, it's just like anything else. You're a passionate Minnesota fan, and in many ways, you're absolutely right. I always said, thank goodness for Minnesota Gopher Wrestling. It seems to balance out the whole thing, but even they've been down the last 3 or 4 years, but they're coming back.
So they were ahead. I didn't get to watch the game. I was working, so they were behind and lost. They were behind the whole way. They stunk it up. They choked. What did they do?
Well, they were ahead by quite a few.
13
and the only way,
points.
Yeah, and I heard the only way they will not win this game if they don't hit free throws. Well, they didn't hit free throws towards the end. But what happened too is Marcus Fuller, who's a follow for me on Twitter, good basketball mind. But he said, it's very tough to come into these hostile environments and come out with a win. Well, I remember the movie Hoosiers, right?
Yeah.
Remember the basket's the same height, the court's the same dimensions, okay? So if they're being called names, does that affect them? Maybe. It shouldn't. They're world-class athletes. You don't make Division I basketball and not be a world-class athlete. So you better buck up. You better have some other parts of your game besides the physical. You better have mental. And it's just it's frustrating because I really think this team could make a run because of their size and depth. But to me, I just don't see it.
But they're in the tournament, so what do we got to worry about?
No, they're not.
They're in right now. They're in the tournament.
Well,
you got to look at the glass half full, folks. That's what we do, right? That's the way to go. Let's talk football. That's what we're here to talk about. Let's move on. And would we like to go like by position, Mike? Because we really didn't plan anything. Should we like to start with the running backs? Who's got the better running backs and work our way through?
You have an answer for that one, George?
Well, I think that they both have matching running backs. They got Sony Mathis and Jimmy White from Wisconsin, who is always going to give you a good shot. But I don't think that the Patriots necessarily have that strong a running game. On the other hand, LA can put together, if Gurley shows up to play, with CJ Anderson, they can put up a good running attack. Either way, New England can counterbalance that because they cover that defensive edge so well. And so if they can contain the edge, they're going to be at the advantage. If they can't, well, the LA running game. And I'll tell you, both teams have to have a running game to make it work.
Being these two both offensive linemen, they firmly believe in the running game. Here's the deal, though. C.J. Anderson already been coming out. They want to sign him for next year, first of all. Second of all, they've come right out and said they're going to be splitting carries today. So that could be good. It could be bad. I don't know. Gurley's a type that needs a lot of carries. He's a type that wants the ball. He wants the rock. He's their franchise. If it comes down to, I think it's a wash at running back. I really do. I think James White adds another dimension, catches the ball out of the backfield. Sony Michel does his thing. And then you got Rex Burkhead, who for some reason Belichick throws him out there, and all he does is score touchdowns.
Well,
so I'd say it's a wash.
It's even.
Yeah,
it's even.
my opinion.
What if Todd Gurley can catch the football? Is it still even?
No, because Gurley catches the football very well.
Well, except for in New Orleans, apparently, where he couldn't hang on to it.
Yeah.
But and I only say that is because
we watched it.
He's a very good receiver out of the backfield, just like a lot of the guys that can do these kinds of things are. And if he's on his game, Okay, and I'm going to say all the guys you mentioned there, Michelle, Burke, all of them. If you put all 5 of them out on the field and they all have their best day, Todd Gurley is going to be the best running back on the field, and that's why I give the slight edge, not much, but a slight edge to the running back.
Can't disagree with that.
Most important question I'm going to get to, and I'm going to ask you two,
Okay.
because you're the offensive line guys. This is a battle of the trenches, I think. Okay, both blocking Brady and Goff, and also filling up or giving holes to their running backs. Who's got the better offensive line and why?
Ooh, he's good. He went there early. I was going to save that, but
Early and often, my friend.
But early and often, and I told somebody this morning where I was serving breakfast at this morning. I made my claim about who I believe is going to win, and I said the reason why is because they've got the better offensive and defensive lines. And I believe on both counts that belongs to the team from California. The LA Rams have a better offensive line, have a better defensive line overall. Not saying that scheme-wise that some coach can't come up with a better scheme to counteract that. But what I watched from LA 3 weeks ago when they absolutely obliterated Dallas with their running game, what they were able to do despite Todd Gurley being injured, uninterested, whatever he was at New Orleans, they were able to get the job done. I believe that the offensive and defensive lines for the Rams are a step above what the Patriots have.
Well, I think the New England had 21 sacks last year. I mean, gave up 21 sacks. They have given up no sacks during playoffs. Wow. And they, when they huddle around and you take a look at them, 6'8", 380. I mean, these are big guys. There is one guy on 2 offensive lines on the 2 teams that's below 300, and he weighs 298. So these guys are all big, and they all move well. I don't think that New England drive blocks quite as well as LA does, and that might be the difference with the running game.
And I think the difference is scheme, and we've talked about this on this show before. You watch the Minnesota Vikings try to run block. They tried to run block with 5 guys and a lead blocker. The Rams, they got their 5 guys, they got a tight end, and they got a receiver, somebody coming in motion that's kicking somebody out so that they can double team somebody in the middle. It's scheme with the LA Rams, I believe, because of the scheme, the way they run, the way they want to run. They aren't necessarily zone blocking. They're trying to double team somebody that they think, and that gets a piece of the puzzle going. And as soon as Gurley can get that separation, he finds a hole. And even C.J. Anderson, we saw that, can get through that hole. And I think that's the difference. And I think you're going to see more teams going to this type of run blocking. And it's very college-like. It's very high school-like.
Like Army's team.
Like Army's team. And so when you look at that running attack, that's the thing that they do. And I think that's why I give them the advantage.
Fair enough. Good analysis. Good analysis. Hey, how are the peanuts here? Are those peanuts? Are those amazing peanuts? I mean, no, I'm serious. I mean, you come out to Looney's Brew. Of course, you got a wide variety of beers. They're up to 12 beers, I believe, right now, and they're going to be expanding that. But those peanuts make you thirsty. Huh? You guys like Seinfeld?
Yeah.
These peanuts are making me thirsty.
Well, you got to get back of this offensive line. You got to get on the other side of it. And when I talk about Dinamagong Suh, I remember him a couple of years ago when he was playing for Detroit. I think it was Aaron Rodgers' leg he stepped on. He was considered the meanest guy in football. I'm not sure he shaved that down some, but he's 6'4" and 313 pounds, and he moves like a gazelle. He is going to sack it up, and his buddy next to him, Aaron Donald, is
Defensive Player of the Year.
Defensive Player of the Year. He moves quicker than any defensive lineman I've seen this year. If they can't keep control of him, he's going to be very annoying all night long, all day long.
And the thing about the LA defensive line is we know about those 2 guys in the middle that they play almost all the time. Can either you tell me any of the guys on the edge? Because I can't come up with a name of a guy.
Jones.
Okay.
And
he's always causing havoc.
And they bring the linebacker up.
Dante Hightower.
They go, Hightower, you don't know if those guys are secondary linebackers or defensive ends. They could play any 3 of those parts.
Schemes.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. Donald had 20.5 sacks. Suh had, I think, 2 sacks and was tied for second on the team.
Yeah.
So that tells you where the pressure comes from. Look for number 99 to have a day, but I think Bill Belichick will also have something to counteract that. There are going to be 2 guys assigned to number 99 every time he's on the field. They need to take him out of the equation. Otherwise, if he gets loose, it could be a tough day for
Oh,
the
it really
Patriots.
could, and I'll tell you what, there have been a number of times that the Rams have not contained the rush in a lot of games. They were, I don't know, what, 9th or 10th in the league.
You are correct,
They were
George.
not that good, and so but against New Orleans, they shut her down there, and but they're going to have a very good game, and that secondary is going to have to play real well.
And right now, what are we, 2:30? We're going to come up on 2:30. We're 3 hours from game time. So we're about ready to go to the next stop. You
Are we
guys
taking
think?
Q&A?
We're doing Q&A first, and then we're going to go on to the next stop.
Questions other than who's the winner is, because I think we already explained that. So we got
What's going to be the score?
30-27 is the final score.
30-27?
Yeah, combinations of score over 50 for sure.
35-14. 35-14. Again, we can't reveal. We're not revealing our winner of the
can't believe
game
you're
on
saying
camera.
I cannot believe
Till the
you think
last
only
show.
one of these teams is only going to score two
For
touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And earlier yesterday it was a touchdown and a field goal. Are you nuts? This is the NFL. They don't score only 10 or 14 points.
Just watch.
And then keep in
Crazy.
mind, LA's got a kicker that can kick from anywhere on the field, and they have a punter that throws the ball like a quarterback.
You know, you guys are giving out an awful lot of information for the first show. I always can kind of tell where you guys are leaning, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
How many beers have you had?
Me? Right there.
Right there.
And it's not even beer. Don't even go there.
Anything else? Oh.
Yeah, any predictions for the Puppy Bowl?
The Puppy Bowl.
There you go.
Pay attention to that.
Well, I'm
Is this a commercial?
I'm a fan of.
Because I don't watch the commercials.
If there's a
I don't do
Yorkie, on a team, that's who I want. I like those little Yorkies. Yeah.
Possible.
All right.
Who's going to get sacked more?
Oh, who's gonna get
Ooh, that's
sacked?
a great question.
That is a great
Who's going
question.
to get sacked?
I would go Goff because if the first receiver's not open, he's gonna go panic mode. and then,
Goff will get sacked more in this game. Brady does not want to get sacked, and he knows where to go with the football so that it
Secondary
it's-
receivers.
He's got a secondary read, and he's got a place where he's going to throw the ball so he doesn't get hit.
Also,
He knows.
he does not roll out. He stays behind the
Yeah.
pocket of thicker walls than we have in this building, and they protect him quite well. Goff, he's all over the place.
Will our old Viking friend Cordero
Patterson.
will he play a key cog in the game tonight?
Ooh,
Oh, he might play a key cog in it for the Rams. How about that? He no. He will. If he makes any impact in this game, it will be in a negative.
here's my thought on Cordero Patterson.
Oh boy.
His expectations for the Vikings were high. His expectations for New England aren't. A lot easier to play.
True.
That's my
He's
opinion.
got a good one today.
I hope you're right. I mean, I think he's
be
a great
nice.
guy. I would never hold anything against these guys personally.
Oh no.
Not my style.
Oh, that's for sure.
Anyway, that's good.
Any questions over here?
Will Todd Gurley have 100 yards?
Oh,
No.
George seems to think yes.
Todd
George?
Gurley will not have 100 yards, but he'll
No,
be
I
darn
just said
close.
that Todd Gurley's going to have a good game in order for them to have a chance to win.
And one last question.
You
Absolutely.
sure can.
That Belichick, he always takes somebody out of the game. Who's it going to be for the Rams? Is he going to take Gurley out? Is he going to take Cooks out?
I think it's tough with what the Rams have offensively to try to take Gurley and Anderson, the running game, away. So I think he's more likely to try to take the passing game away.
Wide receiver, yeah.
And try to take that away. I have heard that a lot of people think that the Patriots secondary is pretty good. I think they might depend upon those guys to try to take that, let them out there and see what they can do with that, and try to take the big play away from the Rams and see if they can be
See,
patient and work it out.
I'll disagree. They're going to try to take out the running game. They'll put it in the two-year player in Goff. Hasn't been as good without Cooper Kupp in the lineup. I think that's been a big effect, so I'm going to disagree.
I think Wood got real active in the middle.
30-27, I say the final score. So yes, I say it is going to come to the final gun. Somebody's going to have a chance.
I hope not, because I want to go home early tonight. I hope it's blowout city at halftime.
Yeah, but you could have tried to do that with New England a couple of years ago when I was going to bed at the end of the.
Oh, and they came back against the Falcons? Oh, do you remember that?
Yeah. And then do you remember what happened last year when they didn't win?
Cheaters. Philadelphia.
cheated.
Yeah.
And the Patriots can go right into that, so they.
All right. Paul, do you have anything? We got to give respect to the owner.
How many home runs today?
2.
2 home runs.
We are out. We'll see you in a bit.
I got one more question. Do you
think the NFL, the officiating will be more strict today than what it was
Yes.
2 weeks ago?
I do. They will be watching this game like a hawk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thanks for the questions.
Well, welcome to the Viking Bar here in downtown International Falls as we make our second stop on our charge through the Super Bowl coverage. And we were discussing on the way from Looney's to here, we were discussing our first Super Bowl that we remember. And I piped right up. The first one I can remember is the one the Vikings lost to the Raiders, 32-14. I remember we just moved into our new house and we watched the game in the basement. I don't remember a Super Bowl before that. I was 7 years old and couldn't have been prouder that the Vikings were in it. And then they did what they always do. They lost, right? So.
Do you remember who the quarterback for the Raiders was?
The Raiders was Ken Stabler that day, I believe. Yes, and Fred Biletnikoff running down the
Cliff
field.
Branch?
And Cliff Branch. Yeah, they were all over the place on us.
Marv
So,
Hubbard?
and you said 1960.
I would say the first one first one I saw was '69. I guess for the Super Bowl, but I would say the Dolphins '72 loss with Larry Zonka. Vikings got beaten that one. I remember that a little more than the Chiefs-Vikings game.
Okay.
But, very memorable. Again, another loss.
George?
Well, I think you guys have me here for historical perspective because I've seen them all. The one that comes to mind, of course, is 1969, and I'll tell you, at the time, AFC did not have the credibility that the NFC, and they were still kind of the little brothers of the league. Mm-hmm. And the Baltimore Colts had the great Johnny Unitas, that's the Hall of Fame quarterback, that was legendary in beating the Giants in the greatest game ever played in 1958. They had an incredible team, including Bubba Smith at defensive end. You guys remember Bubba?
Yes, I remember Bubba.
The New York Jets, which were coached by Weeb Eubank, the guy that coached the Colts against New York. 11 years later, and Weeb, remember that little stub guy standing around all those guys? He came in and they got Joe Willie Namath for $427,000 on a 3-year contract. And it's just like, no, that's chump change now for these guys. But he was then known as Broadway Joe, and it come down to that he guaranteed that he was going to beat the Baltimore Colts, and everybody laughed and scoffed. I got in a heated discussion with my roommates down in college. This was the game, and this was the upset game that came about. Give the AFC credibility and really bounce the league into equality. They did a really good job, and I'm going to tell you that's 50 years ago. This Super Bowl. Thank you very much. Yes, 50 years ago.
As a young kid who didn't get to watch it live, one of the first things you remember about watching the NFL and being a football whatever is Joe Willie running into the corner of the Dolphin Stadium, into the Orange Bowl, running with his finger up in the air, and not mocking anybody, just saying, look, I said it was going to happen, and it happened. And
can you see the parallels between today's game and the 1969 game? I can't.
67.
This has happened 1969. First game was 67.
Oh, okay.
Green Bay did it for 2 years, and then 69 with the Colts.
So what you're saying is the Rams are the upstart Jets, and the New England Patriots are the longtime Baltimore Colts? That's the analogy that I should be seeing?
The historical perspective undoubtedly is there.
So the old guys, the ones that have been there, Bill Belichick, should never be beat. You're saying, here come the Rams.
Belichick is 66. McVay is 33.
Twice the age.
You know, and Brady is 41. I'm not sure how old Goff is. What, 23, 24?
Somewhere in there.
So
24.
we have a generational type thing here, and sooner or later, New England is going to get beat. It's just a matter of when.
Last year, I guess.
Oh well,
nobody. Yeah. Here's the deal, though. If you look at that was, nobody gave the Jets a chance, and Joe Willie just guaranteed it. And if you remember, did Joe Namath throw a touchdown pass in that game?
Oh, I'm not sure, but he was like 16 for 23. Matt Snell ran a couple of touchdowns,
never
and they had
touchdown.
Joe Sample got an interception and ran that back. and it's just
But there's an example there,
16-7.
George. You'll agree with me there, is how the leadership of a quarterback doesn't necessarily have to be behind the sticks.
No, Namath was 17 of 28 for 206 yards and was named the game's most valuable
Yeah,
player.
did not throw a touchdown.
Did not throw a touchdown
Matt
pass.
Snell and Emerson Boozer.
Yeah,
and, Don Maynard. And, what a
Great people.
team. Yeah.
And when they talk about great players, the Green Bay teams before that, they had 10 people in the Hall of Fame.
No.
10 people. Well, that's pretty
Be
good.
interested to see how many of the Jets players off that team are in.
There are more than a couple.
Joe Namath, Maynard, I'm guessing.
I'm thinking too.
What's with Edelman's beard?
Why?
Is it out of control?
we got TVs here.
Is it
You gotta remember where we're at.
Is this
We're at-
James Harden? Is he trying to put the power of James Harden into with the beard, or what's the deal?
Who is it, Burleson?
Edelman has a
Edelman.
beard.
Oh, Edelman has that
Yeah.
going.
Got him out to about here. I mean,
But anyways, we are at Viking Bar. Of course, under new ownership. Starting last year when we were here was one of her first days. Tammy Renolette, of course. And let's not forget Bargo, Friday night. $825
blackout.
This is it. Yeah, this is a huge jackpot. So
That is pretty big.
Come on down if you watch a show Tuesday or Wednesday. Bargo Friday nights, and they also now have a late night Bargo. Come in on Wednesdays for Wine Wednesdays, Kill the Keg Wednesday, and on Saturdays, believe it or not, if you have some Canadian money sitting in your wallet, Canadian money at par.
Oh, that's
Viking
good.
Bar.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hey, Canadian money. All right. All right. We got to talk the game. Are we going to talk defenses this time? We talked offenses mostly.
Well, we got in a little
our
bit of
last segment.
defense. What do you think of the McCourty brothers being the defensive backs for the New England Patriots? First time two brothers been in the same defensive backfield in the Super Bowl. Thoughts on that, George?
Well, I tell you what, they really play well back there, and it's they have a great secondary, and it's one of the things where if they don't start clipping them off, if Wood doesn't have a good game coming across the middle, they're not going to be able to do it on the sideline alone. They're going to have to enter that center section, and that's where
you
they'll
got
come
notes
across.
there.
I've got notes. I tell you what,
You're upstaging. You're upstaging the two big shots here.
Well, hey, we got Devin McCourtney and Jason McCourtney, one left cornerback, the other one the free safety. Yeah, I got a little bit of a depth chart.
You've just taught me one thing today, George.
What's that?
Now I know why Ringer loves you so much. Okay, you know why?
Why is that?
Because you are a statistical maniac. You got information that Ringer bleeds for. He asked me for stuff like this. I said, call George.
Hey, and I'll listen to him. He's throwing me under the bus. Yesterday, we're doing a hockey game on the radio. Who dug up the stats on Kitson County Central yesterday, Mr. Bolstead?
I did.
You did.
I don't know if I gave them, but I had them.
You had him 19 and 33 for
19
Mr.
and-
Kelvin
yeah,
Hansen.
very
I'm just
nice.
going to throw his name out there because, whoa, this young lad can skate,
Yeah,
and he can
he's-
put the biscuit in the
I hope
basket.
he stays at Kitson. I'm guessing Warroad's probably looking at him right now.
Or Roseau.
Well, Rose will
They don't do that kind of stuff. Only Warroad.
Hermantown. Did you see me blast Hermantown today?
I saw the Plantville tweet. I don't know what got you all warmed up this morning about that.
Well, I had a little discussion with a couple people, friends of mine, and I look at Section 7. That's Iron Range hockey.
It is.
IRC hockey.
So they should be playing in Section 2.
And I was telling the guy yesterday, I said, George, when Hermantown, I was playing high school, we wouldn't waste our time with Hermantown.
No, that's true.
Okay, you know why? Because they didn't have the jobs in the school they do now. We all had the jobs. We had 300 kid enrollment, even though I know you're going to hide behind the enrollment thing. But when you got 50 to 60 kids in Pee-wees, 50 to 60 kids in Bantams, 100 kids in squirts, and we're trying to get together enough for one team, 18,
Yeah,
17 kids,
that's right.
George. And the Iron Range teams around us are all like this. We can't compete with that.
No.
So I say either all the Class A, Section 7 teams opt up to Double A. Okay? Just opt up. You
Just
can
opt
do
up.
it, right?
Yep.
Right? And then
So you're
Hermantown can have the section to themselves in Ely.
Well, they kind of do right now anyway.
Seriously. Or else another thing, vote them number 10. They
can play the extra
They
game?
play 4 sectional teams. I think they got to play Proctor because of an agreement. They play Evelyn, Virginia, Hibbing, and Greenway. Okay, they would never play Greenway 4 years ago.
Nope.
Okay,
No,
so Their whole schedule's all AA, and now the parents and the school superintendent, the athletic director, even Andrews, who came out 2 years ago and said, we're going AA, he's backed off on those comments. They're staying in single A. That is a travesty. It's sad, and it's bad for Iron Range Conference hockey. We are not on the same competing
So
field.
where are you getting all this, and I'm asking, where are you getting all this information about that the parents and the administration and Andrews are all backing off on this?
It's in the news.
What news? Fake news or where?
Oh, this is real news. This is from the good sources. The superintendent came right out last week verbally, and now Andrews has taken
and put it in the Duluth paper?
Yeah, well, not yet, but Andrews has come out now and said, I have no comment on anything. So to me, he's been told to keep his mouth shut.
Sure.
Oh, you heard of the name Pionk, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, they had two great players. One's playing for the New York Rangers. The dad of the kids came out and said, it's an embarrassment to Hermantown to be in section in Class A. Okay, it's a travesty to all those hard-working Iron Range teams that work their butts off and know deep down they don't have a chance to get to a state tournament. They can't. I mean, this is like a 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Okay, that any of the IRC teams, and I'm not putting our Broncos down, they work hard, but they know they cannot beat that. I mean, the days of having a goalie standing on their head and making 85 saves.
So you threw the Hoosiers thing out at me now. We can't go Hoosiers?
No, we can't, Ringer. It's
not
just,
a 1 in a 100 chance. No.
It's sad, and that's what makes it sad, because how good would Section 7 hockey be this year?
How fun would it be? I don't know how good it would be. It would be fun.
Broncos can beat Greenwood. Broncos can beat Evelyn. Broncos can beat all the Section 7 Iron Range teams. Okay? And that's why. They would be a 5 or 6 seed, George, but they could go like the 83 team, sneak up from nowhere and end up winning the section.
Sure.
That can't happen. And to me, Hermantown's ruined it, and shame on them. Have some go up.
On the other hand, I heard this week that Roseau and Warroad refused to call school off because they were playing a game on Tuesday, and Roseau and Warroad just weren't going to give up that hockey game.
Good for them.
And so I thought, good for them.
Yeah,
this is what
it's kind of
community
ironic. Me and
competition.
Ringer talked about the Bronco Fort Francis game on Thursday.
Yeah.
We had school Thursday. That Fort Francis Bronco game was going to be played.
That's right. That is
So
right.
anyways,
Okay, who's got the better defense? Overall better defense between
George,
the Patriots and the Rams. Who?
thanks for
who's
letting
got
me
it?
get that off my chest.
That's great. I'm going to have to go with the Rams.
Okay.
And I think that, as I take a look through my flow chart, it's not hard to see why. It comes right in the first two names, and that's Ndamagong Suh and Aaron Donald. And if they play well and they get a chance to have Fowler and some of these linebackers, Ebukong, these are really good linebackers, particularly Fowler. He's an incredible football player.
They got him at the trade deadline from Jacksonville.
Yeah. So if these guys play, I think it has to go to them.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I like I said,
I'm a skilled player.
Donald
You guys are in the trenches.
Donald is the defensive player of the year. That's kind of more reserved for linebacker type people on defense. Usually where you get those. For him to be a defensive tackle, and sometimes it's that rush end. He's a tackle. I mean, he's in the trenches. So for a guy like that to get it tells me that things are tight. There's Joe Willie on TV just as we speak. Here they are talking about him. Come on, he's going to do this pretty soon on TV.
He's got the cleft in his chin.
And keep in mind, Suh was the Nagurski Defensive Player of the Year award winner in 2019. So he's, between the two of them, they're two of the best defensive linemen. This was
Where's he from? Where did he play college?
Nebraska.
There you go, George. I knew you'd get that.
Yeah.
So you never answered the question. Who's got the better defense?
Platteville. The better defense. You guys remember a nickname of the Purple People here, right?
Right.
I'll remember the old defense, the fearsome
Foursome
from the Rams. Remember the no-name defense?
Yeah, from the
Miami Dolphins.
Early to mid-'70s.
I do.
That's what the Patriots are.
Yeah, but they
Two Super Bowls, George. They had players that could play. They followed a system. They had a coach, Don Shula, who told them what to do, and they went out and won. So, does that answer your question?
As a Vikings
New
fan,
England's a better
I knew all
defense
their names.
based on preparation and knowing what the other team's going to be doing. Better coaching.
Better coaching. I don't think I can argue with you on that with Belichick with the better defense philosophy. He's got something in place, and his boys have bought in. And if you haven't bought in, you're gone. You're not a part of the team anymore. You can go try to win your Super Bowl someplace else.
What else we got before we head on?
What are you digging up there, George?
I'm going to talk about when how good are the New England Patriots, and I'll tell you what one person said. They're not only the greatest dynasty in NFL history, they're probably the greatest dynasty in sports, including the Yankees, the Lakers, and the
You're going to tell us
Celtics.
why right now.
There he is
The numbers are right there.
on TV. Sorry.
No, that's okay. They
gotta
won.
do this.
They've got 6 rings. I mean, so do the Steelers. But if they top this off tonight, and I'll tell you what, Belichick is in no way ready to quit. And from what I understand, neither is Tom Brady. So these guys aren't done
There's
winning something. There's Gronkowski. And that, speaking of which, he's been busted up and hurt, and they say that he right now is as good a condition as he's been in all year.
Yeah.
The thing that scares me, and this, I go back to the AFC Championship game, and the stats were on SportsCenter the other morning, and they were talking about Brady on the final drive, 3rd and 7 or more, I think in the 4th quarter against Kansas City in the AFC Championship. He was 6 for 6.
Yeah.
And got 6 first downs
Yeah.
on 3rd and more than 7.
Remember the 3rd down conversions.
And that is the stat that can change this whole game, because both teams, well, obviously 3rd down is a crucial down, but to me that if Brady can do that again, has a day like that where he can convert on 3rd down like that, it's going to be, I don't care who's playing on the other side, it's going to be very difficult. And he does have that ability to be able to do that, but
We are getting closer to our Super Bowl predictions. We do need to move on to Hanson's Outpost. Thank you to the Viking Bar for letting us come in. And George, I know you got a lot of stuff you want to say yet, and we are going to get there at our next stop at Hanson's. See you shortly.
All right, well, welcome to Hanson's Outpost here, 3rd stop of 4 on the Super Bowl tour of establishments, and so we're getting closer to our picks.
Yeah.
Let's stay there.
If you've watched closely, you can kind of hint where we're kind of leaning, but
we're kind of leaning, yeah. It's going to get interesting, and we'll make our picks at the final stop. And let's talk quarterbacks.
Okay.
That's what I'd like to talk about. We haven't.
This will be short.
This is going to be short. He said. Well, let's. You're talking because it's Brady and he's 41 and he's done all this stuff. But is it too late? Is time passing him by? And that's where I'm going with this.
George, I know you got a lot of analysis on this. That's why I'm going to take it first. Here's what's going to happen. It's been proven if you pressure Brady, okay, he will have a hard time.
Yeah?
I don't believe the Chiefs hassled him enough, didn't blitz enough. I think you got to blitz him. Send 6 guys. He's going to pick you apart anyways. Take your chances that you can put some pressure and have him make some missed throws. He knows what he's going to do when he walks up to that line of scrimmage. He knows the advantages he has with either James White, Gronkowski, Hogan, any one of his receivers. He knows which one he's going to go to in most cases.
Sure.
But you put that added pressure on, okay, that's going to cause problems. Brady's the best quarterback ever in the history of the NFL. I will go to my grave with that. And I love Tom Brady. Call him a cheater. Call him whatever you want. The guys. Well, Dan Marino was more skilled and talented, no question. But Dan Marino didn't have the coaching and the guys around him to win.
He's going after Don Shula.
Well, Don Shula. I mean, he was your Tom Landry. I mean, the old saying, Larry Ross in the 70s. I mean, he was a great coach, but he had great players.
Sure.
Okay. And having Fitchuk and Sheehy and that group, I mean.
So the New England Patriots have not had great players.
Marginal. I told you this a couple weeks ago. Riley Reef, okay, and Rimmers could both go into New England and play regularly and be good. My opinion. George.
Well, I'm
not going to mention God.
The first thing that happened was Brady and Belichick and Kraft all got together and said, what are we going to do? I'm thinking this is after the Denver game. What are we going to do for this offensive line so he's not getting sacked anymore? And I'll tell you, he's not getting sacked anymore. And I take a look at in the last 17 years, he has played in 13 NFL championships. Wow. The Goff hasn't scratched the surface of his career. He's still a babe in the woods compared to this, unquestionably, a lot of talent. But he hasn't gone out there and done it yet. Brady's at top of the heap. He's at top of the pyramid. Until somebody brings him down, he's going to stay there.
Great point. Nick Foles did bring him down.
So I'm going to go here because Goff got drafted 2 years ago or 3 years ago? 2 years ago, yes?
Yeah.
3 years coming up, yeah.
Right. So 3 years coming up. And our good friend Mike Bolstead, who's sitting to my right, said that Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, no comparison. Yeah. Carson Wentz is the man. He has the blah, 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 blah.
Remember I said Goff was a pretty boy.
And he said Goff was a pretty boy. Well, guess who's getting to play in the Super Bowl? And guess who kind of played in the Super Bowl, I guess. I guess Wentz got there, but I don't know if that counts. I'm going to go here. Where is Jared Goff going to be in 10 years? Is this going to be some guy that we are going to say has played in this Super Bowl only? Or is this going to be a guy that we're going to say has played in 3 Super Bowls or 2 Super Bowls or 5 Super Bowls? Has he got that kind of talent around him to be able to be in is McVay the next Bill Belichick?
Great point. And here's the deal. Dan Marino made the Super Bowl his very first year, his rookie year. Came into the season as a backup. Halfway through, they put him in. Never made it back to another Super Bowl. That's a great point. Yeah. So you better cherish it, and you better get results when you do get there, because you don't get there very often, except for the New England Patriots.
That's a fact. And when you take a look, they've been 11 Super Bowls. 11.
Wow.
That is a bunch.
Yeah, when you consider 53, that's better than 20%.
And they've all been in the last.
And they've all been since 85, and then not again until 96. 96, 97, somewhere in there.
How many have they been to since 1990? There it is.
Be 10.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
10 in the last 30 years, which is
and 1-6.
And 1-6. You know, and so I'll ask. Yes, you still got to be the best team. You got to get a chance to get there. Is the AFC just not competitive enough, or are the New England Patriots just that good? And I'm not going out here. My friends might say, well, you're going after the Pittsburgh Steelers and X team and Y team in the AFC.
You hate the Steelers.
Because I hate the Steelers, because my brother and my best friend are huge Pittsburgh Steelers fans, so I got to hate them. It's just the way it is. But Pittsburgh has had their time, has had good teams. Denver had their stretch with Peyton Manning and et cetera. But it's been the New England Patriots that have been the constant. Is it just that those other teams can only maintain it for a year or two, but New England stays there for forever? Why are they always coming out of the AFC? And if they were in the NFC, would they still be coming out?
It's too easy for me to answer, so I'm going to let George answer it.
Well, I tell you what. You take a look at New England and the fact that they've been very, very successful. What do we do with that? Like Dallas, we call it a dynasty. Like Pittsburgh, we call it a dynasty. New England is the dynasty. And undoubtedly, in my mind, to this point, they're the greatest dynasty in football.
New England Patriots.
New England Patriots. That being said, they can be knocked off. They certainly can be beat. They were lost 5 times this year. And depending how the game goes, you know, and who gets dinged and who does not, a lot of things can happen.
Turnovers.
Play Buffalo twice a year, the Dolphins twice a year, and the Jets twice a year.
I was going to go there.
So there's 6 games where, you know, it's kind of show up and let's go through the motions for the last 15 years. None of those teams have done anything. Yes, New England's been at the top of the heap, but they've dominated those 6 teams, and yes, they've got to play 10 other times. I don't know. I'm just trying to stir the pot here a little bit. New England's been great. Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. He's been able to do things that, in this place and time with free agency the way it is, you should not be able to do these things. Period. Should not be able to do this, and they continue to get back. And I guess they deserve their props. They have shown the way to do it. And again, it's scheme. They've got a way to do it. regardless of whether you believe that they've cheated with the video cameras, with the Jets, and all the rest of that stuff.
I read a headline.
Turn whatever way you want on that. They still go out there and win the game.
I read a headline from Buffalo today, and they picked. Who do you think
hard
they?
up for news,
Who
eh?
do you think they picked to win this game?
The Rams.
I would say
They
New England.
picked the Rams.
Yeah?
Really?
And they went right across the line and said how the Rams.
Because half the
were gonna-
Buffalo Bills are on the Rams.
Well, I'm just saying is that
Robert Woods?
they see these guys all the time, and I'm sure there's some animosity between the two teams.
They were the Buffalo TV station this week. I don't know if anybody saw this, but there was a producer or somebody in the TV station, and they were doing a story about Tom Brady or about the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady came up and he inserted a thing that said "no one cheater" and got fired. Guys lost his job.
I did hear about that.
So,
but here's the deal. You know, it looks like Buffalo seems to think they got their quarterback of the future in Josh Allen. The Jets with Sam Darnold looks to have. Tannehill's out. They're in rebuild mode. So hopefully, I think you made a good point. The Patriots have had laughers getting to the playoffs. I mean, they got 6 automatic wins, right?
pretty close.
So, you know, right there, it always helps. And Pittsburgh Steelers is always just a mess. I don't know why, because Tomlin's a disciplinarian. He expects a lot from his players, and he's got Le'Veon Bell, Antonio
Heinz
Brown
Ward
trying to
went
run.
after
It's just,
Roethlisberger this week. It's just kind of stunning to me. Is that team in a free fall spin mode? I don't know. What's going to shake out, because again, Tomlin's one of those top coaches. I really believe that.
I respect
the
Mike
Vikings
Tomlin.
lost him. Well, what has he been head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers for 12, 14 years? And would it be interesting to see if he'd have stayed with the Vikings and been their head man that many years ago? Would we be talking about the Vikings in a different light?
Are you saying Zimmer's done after this year?
No. I'm saying let's go back before Childress and all those guys.
Yeah.
If Tomlin was the defense coordinator here in 20 whatever it was, if he doesn't get the job with the Pittsburgh Steelers when Noel left, right? I got that right. Chuck Noel left. If he doesn't get the job then, and like I said, I don't know how many years ago that is.
Yeah.
If he doesn't leave and he becomes the Vikings head coach, are we talking about the Vikings in a different light? I believe he's that good of a coach.
Great point. And listen, we are at Hanson's Outpost out here on Highway 53 as you head south of town. And they got happy hour 9 to noon every single day.
5 to 6:30.
And 5 to 6:30. They have a lot of people come here before bowling and lots of fun energy, great bartenders, great staff.
Gifts and prizes for the Super Bowl.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how huge this place is.
Yeah.
I mean, this place is humongous and great people. Ori Hanson's one of the best people I know in town.
For sure.
Come on over here, spend some time, and say hi to the staff.
Any thought before we head to the final segment?
We're going to let George talk a little wrestling at our next segment. We are going to give our picks here shortly, but we're going to move on.
Thanks, everybody. Well, welcome to our last stop here. Here we are at Border Bar, and we become our traditional last stop, Michael.
So, it's as we get closer to the Super Bowl, the crowds get bigger.
Yeah.
So we're about 2 hours away from kickoff.
Yeah, and the place is a little crazy, a little loud, as you probably can hear in the background. And it's our final stop, so that means we're getting closer. We're finally going to get a chance to voice our picks. Like I said, if you've been watching the whole show, you might already have an idea of where we're going.
We've kind of leaned toward the direction, but Ringer, Border Bar, always things happening here. You got Patio Porter. I don't think he's on tonight, but he's always on Sunday night.
The most popular musician in town.
The guy is amazing.
He is.
I'm not going to reveal his age. I don't have to. But he acts like he's 50 years old. And he's amazing. People just come down here, they dance and get the exercise. They have a couple drinks. They have some pizza, best pizza around, and it's just a fun place to be.
Absolutely. I want to ask before I forget, the shirt you're wearing,
Yes.
is that from the guests?
My friends Randy and Debbie from Southern California brought the shirt. Now I have a friend in Boston, but he didn't send me one. So he didn't send me a shirt. So
Bill
I
Howard
wear
did
this
not?
shirt. Bill Howard didn't send me a shirt.
and I assume he is cheering for the Patriots.
Oh,
I
you
guess
can
we know
believe
where
on
he's
that.
going, right?
He is showing his colors.
Luke Gorzi, I didn't put something over my head. If I had had some horns, I'd have done that.
There you go.
Yeah.
The intangibles. I think we might already know what they are, Mike. I think might be one of the.
I'm a fan of intangibles.
I remember Jimmy the Greek and Brent Musburger back in the 70s, and they used to have the board there: offense, defense, rushing, quarterbacks, blah blah, everything. And then at the bottom, the last thing was intangibles.
It's a typical horn.
I think the intangibles here is the kicking game. I really do. New England is questionable. Los Angeles is not. And who knows whether or not Hecker can throw a touchdown pass or something. I just know that Belichick has thought about Hecker a lot.
I'll say this: when the Rams went with the fake punt, middle of the second quarter, 35, their own 35-yard line. I don't know if it was a show of desperation or a show of balls, if I can use that word here, gutsiness, whatever. I just did. To me, that is who the Rams. You just never know what they're going to do. They're going to surprise you at the least possible moment. Onside kick in this game at a weird time would come. That is sometimes looked at as a sign of desperation from a team who's got to make something happen. Maybe the Rams do have to do that because of who the Patriots are or have been or wherever that is. But to me, I agree with you. You hit it with the kicking game. You could see a 60-yard field goal at the end of regulation, halftime, or the end of the game to win this or to make a difference in this ball game.
Well, your splitting hairs right across the line. This is going to be a great football game, and it's going to be the fine points of defense, offense, and the specialty teams that does it.
Well, I just don't see it coming down to a field goal kicker when the final score is going to be 35-14. So whether you want to say a field goal kicker is an intangible,
How do you think the New England Patriots are going to hold the Rams to 14 points?
The main intangibles, did I say my prediction yet? The main intangibles I'm looking at is experience, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady.
Yes.
Okay. These guys are clutch. This is the first time LA's kind of jumped into the big show. If they wouldn't have had that fake punt, they would have lost that game. That play, other than pass interference, changed the game around in that, as far as I'm concerned. New Orleans was dominating.
So you brought it up, I'm going to bring it up. I put it into my phone as a reminder. Previous stop, I brought out my phone, we got a reminder. Are we going to have review next season of pass interference calls like they do in the CFL?
Well,
yes or no?
Let's go back to this just for a second, because I'm going to just take a little proactive approach here. When the referee did not throw the flag, he looked at the receiver. The receiver didn't complain. When he didn't throw the flag, he looked at the defender, and the defender, when they make a mistake and they think, they're kind of looking, are they going to throw it? Are they going to throw it? They're going to throw it? And he did not do that. And so there was a 50-50 call.
I watched that play again the other day.
Yeah.
Was it a catchable football?
That's the other thing.
And that is the reason on that play. Yes, was it pass interference? Yes, was there head contact? Absolutely, no doubt about it. But where that ball was thrown, could the receiver have made a play to catch that football, to even touch that football? And I wonder if that had something to do with it.
I wouldn't say it was enough to say he couldn't catch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were some, obvious, way over the head, not catchable. I couldn't say yes or no. Not with the way these athletes are now.
Yeah.
Okay. It was pass interference, bar none.
No doubt about it.
Did it bother me? No. It didn't. I just look at New Orleans as, for what they did to the Brett Favre thing, trying to hurt a peer, a co-worker. They're co-workers. They're all in the same group. And for them to try to individually hurt a player and then complain about a pass interference, I don't have any sympathy. It's called payback. And there's been a lot of controversial plays over the past 10 years.
Absolutely.
The Des Bryant non-catch, I mean, lots of them. So
I'm looking over at the TV here. You guys can't maybe see it, but I've got the angle on it. They're talking about the Patriots and the Rams, the latest chapter in the Boston-LA rivalry. I got to be honest, I never thought about.
Never did either.
Never even put that into the play.
Celtics and Lakers.
That is into the Celtics and the Lakers, and everything else. I never made that stretch. And of course, I guess, yeah, it is. It's Boston, LA. There is that rivalry there. It's interesting. I never would have put that together for this game.
no, not at all. And boy, who's the one in the pink outfit?
That's a nice outfit.
That
He'd
is
look good in an
Michael
outfit
Irvin,
like
who is in the pink outfit.
They still allow him on TV.
They still he's got pink pants, a pink suit coat on. Yeah, that's
pink.
That's bright. That's styling.
Anyways,
Okay, so
predictions. We going there?
It's time to make our predictions, I think, Mike.
Well,
I think everybody knows.
Before we do,
George
has a little vent on wrestling.
Yeah.
Just a short vent.
Just a little vent.
As you know, last
George, you
week,
get a half a minute.
Last week I was at the Skip Nayland Invitational, and I went down and we got a Falls kid down there, Noah Mathis. He's wrestling 195 pounds for Nashua, Keewatin, Greenway, and he wound up taking a fifth. I love Noah. He's a great guy. We're good friends. He's one weight too high, and he's been sick, and so he really didn't respond very well, and I was feeling kind of poorly. And then there was another Falls kid, and this is Brandy and Adam Lehman's boy, Caden, and he's wrestling at 135 pounds for Grand Rapids. He's a freshman. He wound up taking second in the tournament. This kid's going to be good, and anybody remembers Adam? Adam's is a big man, 6'2", 6'3". This kid's going to grow into his feet, and he's going to be a very fine wrestler. So it's really good to see him down there. I was real proud of him. And the other thing is on the 22nd and 23rd, Region 7 individuals is going to be at Hibbing. You'll be able a chance to see both of those guys wrestle. And then on what did I have on the 9th and the 10th of March, they're going to have the Big Ten Championships at Williams Arena, and I'm going to have to just kind of maybe sneak down because this is as good if we can.
I'm hoping I can fit it into my schedule.
It is.
Are there any tickets left? I can't believe there's a ticket left.
Well, it'll be crowded, but we'll find some.
Even if I got to sit behind a rafter or a girder.
No, there's 17,000 people.
Yeah.
The last time I was at the Big Ten Championships, it was at Target Center, but I've been there 2 or 3 times. It's something you really want. A year from now, they're going to have the NCAA's in the big stadium,
US Bank Stadium.
At US Bank Stadium, and so there'll be plenty of room there, and I will not miss that one for sure. Other than that,
I'm going to have to put it on my calendar like when we get done here. All right.
Well, I give wrestling a hard time, and Ringer knows that. But I did tell you a story about Warren Balcom.
Yeah.
Back in 1979, he would have been a junior that year, and the whole hockey team showed up, and Warren was a very good football player and a wrestler, and he went against a guy who probably won the state championship, and he held him. He didn't get beat, he didn't lose, he didn't get pinned, and the reason, if he would have got pinned, they would have lost. Warren did everything he could, and to me, that showed me the true makeup of a wrestler. Okay, I am here for my team. I got to wrestle individually, but he was not going to get pinned by that guy, and I'll never forget that.
You know, and this is
Sad as that may sound,
to bring hockey together. The hockey players used to come off and work on how to get out of front headlocks. Because if they pull a jersey over and get them down, how do you get out of a front headlock? And John the Bear Holler used to show the hockey players, they'd be in a room, how to get out of this front headlock situation. And I'd laugh to beat the band on these two. Bear showing the hockey players how to play hockey.
The only hockey player I would have known that would have wanted that was Neil Shee, because he couldn't skate. Okay, couldn't handle the puck. Okay, He gets to the NHL because he can fight.
Hey, listen, he was a captain of the
Neil watches our
Harvard.
show,
He was a
so.
captain of the Harvard boxing team.
He was.
I knew that he was going to do well. The only other person I know about that was Theodore Roosevelt, who was also captain of the Harvard boxing team. Little known fact.
I would have been
Teddy
captain.
Roosevelt.
I would have been captain of the Harvard boxing team, but I couldn't get into Harvard.
All right, it's pick time.
Big time.
George.
Okay.
I've got my shirt on right now. I have to go with this, with the younger generation. I think that McVeigh and Goff are going to pull this thing off, and 50 years, it's been cycled from 1969. It's going to happen again, guys.
Final score.
27-24, whatever it is, it's going to be in the 50s total score.
Okay, fair enough. Mike, I assume I'm going next because you're gonna.
Well, I know where you're
trump card
going.
on this. You know where I'm going. I've sold it all the way. I think the Rams win this game only because I think they're the better team overall. I agree with Mike. He's got Bill Belichick and he's got Tom Brady in his back pocket. He can sit there and talk all day about this. Said the same thing last year when the Philadelphia Eagles ended up beating them. I think the same thing happens this year. It's close, just like it was last year. You're not going to be able to go to bed early like you haven't for the last few years. Same thing happens. 30-27 Rams win it. And don't be surprised if it does go to overtime and the Rams win it there. But I think they win it with a field goal at the buzzer. At the gun.
You're like wrong like 4 times. First of all, you will be able to go home at halftime.
No.
Okay. It will be a blowout.
You are
35-14, maybe 35-17. Welcome to the big dance, LA Rams. Your little Hollywood story is over. Okay. The Patriots are too good. Belichick's too good. Brady's too good. I love Boston.
What did I tell you? All he's got is Brady and Belichick. He can't tell you about anything else about this
Everybody else on the team gets it. Okay? There's no problems in New England. They
There's
just
no
go-
Randy Mosses.
They just go, how was Randy Moss in New England?
Randy
He's a
Moss
pretty
was
good
in
foot
New
soldier.
England, and guess what happened?
Pretty good foot soldier. Won a Super Bowl.
Also couldn't win 19-0.
35-14 Rams will blow them out, and that's our
How
prediction.
about your friends from California? They haven't got a prediction.
They brought me a shirt. Who's going to win this game, guys?
He flew 2,000 miles to watch George wear that shirt. We know who you're picking. Final score.
I would say
55-0 Rams over the New England Patriots. Belichick retires. That's what he said.
Hey, before we go, I want to thank you guys for inviting me on this. This has
a great guest.
been fantastic.
Again, next year, George,
Hey, I'll book me in. I'll tell you, I'm in.
Maybe next year we'll have 5 establishments. Again, thank you to Bobby Rossi for having us here, and just a great establishment, a great environment.
Thanks, everybody.
Don't take us too serious.
We'll see ya.
This program brought to you by Brewski's Bar and Grill, located in Utica, Minnesota. Your one-stop shop for delicious burgers, fries, pizzas, and more.